good morning.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to our live table talk.
We are talking about men's hormones, or male hormones, today. And today we have with us Pauline, who's going to educate us.
I should hope so.
So we've been talking a lot throughout the week about male hormones, female hormones as well, where they differ. But this week it's all about males and where does it start. So I think it's best if we start from maybe the age of 10, when male hormones start to really...
Really boys, particularly around the age of 11, 12, and some of you who have young boys in the house might notice a change at around this age where they start to behave a little differently. And their nutritional needs are different at this age. They start producing sperm. So even the beginnings before they start literally producing sperm, they start making sperm. The testes start making sperm. And this is a very zinc-rich exercise. Now, zinc is a very, very important nutrient for our human health. And so if a young boy's zinc reserves are being depleted to be making sperm, and also if you have a high sugar diet, high carbohydrate diet, if you're stressed, then again your zinc reserves are depleted. So I believe from about the age of 11, even younger, 10, zinc is a very important nutrient to ensure that your child, but particularly young boy, if you don't want to have a grumpy, depleted child who gets mood fluctuations, potentially migraines. Zinc is very important for our immune function. It's very important for growing, for tissue repair.
Not just as children, but
as adults as well, you know. And as you'll learn as we talk about today, zinc is very, very important for hormones in men and women. So
they're going through the changes. 10. I mean, we have Austin, who's 10, and
11.
Tane. He's 11, yeah.
Yeah, so I give him a zinc supplement every morning.
Yeah. And Tane, who's 8.
This one, guys. So if you're looking for really good, sorry, I know you can't see that particularly well. Let me put it over. Where do I put it? There. It's a Terra Nova zinc supplement. So what you want to look at with supplements is that the zinc is a tiny, tiny quantity of the capsule itself. It's what's called a trace mineral. So you don't have a great deal of that particular... It's not like you have a capsule full of zinc. So instead of having fillers and binders, you want to find a capsule that has things that enhance the body's the bioavailability of that product, and that are also adding nutrition to what you're taking. And that's why Terra Nova are a great company. So you're getting the zinc, but you're also getting the pumpkin seed. It's their food. It's called Magni food. So it's basically food sourced,
rich in zinc.
Yeah, powder. So that's the filler rather than some synthetic filler.
Yeah.
So he has one of those every morning. I put one. I empty the capsule into my fat drink. I like putting the actual powder in with all the other things that I take. I know you just take it as a supplement.
Yeah. Do you not have enough testosterone?
Well, zinc is a very important trace mineral to have for general health. It's not just about upping testosterone, actually, which we'll come on to. It's very much about supporting healthy immune function, supporting repair, tissue repair. So it's very, very important for skin. Your skin is the third most dense organ, the third area of zinc density in your body. In men, it's their testes. They hold a lot of zinc in their testicles. So we want to be making sure that we're getting plenty of this trace mineral. And actually, we don't get a lot of it because our soils are different now. And zinc is, you will get zinc in things like pumpkin seeds and lamb and seafood, but it's not...
Kelp?
No, that's iodine.
Okay.
So you can get food source zinc relatively easily into your diet, but actually you just want to make sure you're getting enough in to absorb it. And often when we're low in zinc, we don't absorb zinc because we don't have the stomach acidity. This zinc drives your stomach acid pumps. So yeah, it's a kind of a catch-22. So when you up your zinc, it helps improve your stomach acidity, that then allows you to absorb more zinc.
Wow.
So from about the age of 10, 11 with boys, and girls, but with boys particularly, when they start making sperm, they want to be making sure they have plenty of zinc in their diet, and also making sure that they're not having their zinc depleted through high carb, high sugar monster drinks, these awful fizzy drinks, sugary sweets, you know, Haribo. If children are going to have good carbs in their diet, you want them to be things like gluten-free oats and sweet potato and even jacket potatoes, but quality carbohydrates, not carbs from starchy, sugary cereals and
pizzas and
white bread and So
from the age of 10
from
to
the age
13,
of 10,
14.
and then they start, using more zinc as they produce sperm. Your peak in testosterone as a male is at about the age of 18. And then as you go through adulthood, your testosterone levels start to decline from about the age of 40. And this decline, well, the decline is inevitable, like with estrogen in women.
Yeah.
But the symptoms of low testosterone are not inevitable in men.
So the end result being...
So the symptoms of low testosterone you might start to find that you feel depressed, low, lack of drive, erectile dysfunction, shrinking testes. You can have hair loss all over the body, lower limbs as well as, across the board. An enlarged prostate is a sign of low testosterone. And actually, it's not so much the lowering of the testosterone that becomes a problem. It's the mismatch between estrogen and progesterone that's actually the main issue. Very similar to women with high estrogen, low progesterone, and then that switch. With men, there is an increasing problem with high estrogen and low testosterone.
Wow. So in turn, we end up having the same effect as women, being...
you have that mismatch.
Going through like a menopause?
Yeah, it's kind of like the male menopause. So you end up having low testosterone, high estrogen. And that high estrogen is a result of our modern lifestyle. It's as a result of diet. It's as a result of liver function, of stress, of the environment with the estrogens. I mentioned to you and to you guys last week about estrogens in our environment.
Water, so you have water,
GMO foods,
GMOs,
pesticides, herbicides, plastics.
Yeah.
When we heat things in a microwave in plastic, when we
tap water, that is,
drink from plastic water bottles, tap water, there is estrogen mimicking chemicals in our environment that mimic estrogen. And for men particularly, you have... Okay, so let's take it back a step. When we eat, let's take the most basic of foods, wheat. Okay, so when you eat wheat, you're eating a high carbohydrate, high blood sugar spiking food. Now that impact is your body has to do something with that high blood sugar. It's either going to use it for fuel in the cells, or it's going to maybe store it as glycogen if you have those reserves on your body, or it's going to store it as fat. Now, let's assume that, you've been eating carbohydrates for a number of years and you have a little bit of insulin resistance, i.e. your cells aren't as good at using glucose for fuel as they used to be. You're a professional sugar burner.
Yeah.
Trained yourself to be a sugar burner, not a fat burner. Now, that excess sugar is now either going to get stored as fat in the belly or fat in the liver. Now, for a male... and this is true of females as well, this is why we get a lot of estrogen dominance in females, about testosterone, that visceral fat is producing estrogen. The liver fat is congesting your liver and stopping the breakdown of estrogen.
Wow.
So the visceral fat is driving estrogen levels up, which in turn is dropping your testosterone. And testosterone actually gets converted into estrogen. Yes. So if what you want to try and do is reduce
Is
the,
that too much testosterone?
when you say too much testosterone, if you have too much testosterone,
Yeah.
well, no, it's a natural process that happens, but if you have too much of the enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen, then you're going to have excess levels of estrogen. So if you're having estrogen that's being produced by belly fat, estrogen that's kind of circulating around the body from these estrogens in our environment,
Yeah.
if you're having too much testosterone converted to estrogen because of this enzyme, high levels of an enzyme present in your body, then you want to try and look at, okay, well, how am I by default raising your testosterone by lowering your estrogen, firstly?
Right.
Okay, so firstly you want to look at what you're eating. What am I eating that's driving estrogen? What am I eating that's driving estrogen production and excess estrogen in my body, and therefore lowering my testosterone? So your high carb wheat foods, your high carb sugary foods that are creating this visceral fat. Visceral fat is so inflammatory, and it produces estrogen. It acts more like a gland than it does a fat.
So in time, it actually produces its own gland.
No, it behaves as a gland. So a
Oh.
gland is something that produces hormones.
Yeah.
So your visceral fat, rather than behaving like just a fat,
It acts as a gland.
it acts more like a gland, which is why visceral fat is so dangerous.
Wow.
Because it's actually the highest source of inflammation in your body. It produces inflammatory markers. So if you're carrying around all that visceral fat with you all the time, you're in this constant state of inflammation.
Yeah.
And then your body has to try and dampen down this inflammation. And it does that by using up glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. It's trying its best to switch this constant these inflammatory markers off and down. And this is why when you start to take a different approach to your diet, it can be so life-changing, very anti-inflammatory, the whole biochemical approach to the body is completely different. You rebalance and change the entire biochemistry of the body because you're removing these inflammatory producing.
And we see this time and time again in the store. We've had so many people come through the courses and they've come in and they've openly expressed to the whole class, this is who I am, this is what I eat, and I don't like what you want me to eat. You know, they really do push that out there, don't they? But like Pauline's just said, after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you know, they do start seeing the change when they implement these new ways of eating. And I think
you just feel so much better, because when you're in an inflammatory state, you ache, you get migraines, you feel tired, you feel anxious, you don't feel yourself.
you make excuses
Yes.
for why you're like this. It's age, it's my parents were like this, but you know, and it goes on and on. There is one person who came in. I can't remember his name, but he went through this program, and he came in recently, didn't he? And just he's a whole different person.
Well, he'd lost 3 stone, and when you lose that amount of stored body fat, A, you feel like a different person, but B, mental health wise and physically, you feel very different.
But he went from, I mean, he was a right goat about the whole thing. You know, this is who I am, and I don't like that. And his wife even said, yeah, he won't eat that. He's never like that. You know, they both had this paradigm about how he is and how he eats, and such a different person.
I think especially with men, there's a little bit of resistance at times when it comes to changing your diet, because you become so familiar with what you eat and how easy it is. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes change represents a little bit of pain, or I'm going to miss out what I enjoy.
There's bravado involved in that, and you know, I've always done this my whole life. Why should I change? You know.
And so when you start to look at the simple things that you can change, and look at how it's going to have such an impact on your life. For example, you know, knowing that high levels of estrogen and low levels of testosterone, estrogen drives the feminization of the male body. So you start to get something called gynecomastia, which is breast tissue development in men, which, you know, is really common.
So man boobs.
Man boobs,
Yeah.
it's a very common surgery now. It's one of the most common surgeries in men in terms of aesthetics,
Wow.
because breast tissue is driven by estrogen. You know, it's what makes, when young girls at around 12, 13, when we start getting that increase in estrogen, it causes the body to lay down fat in the breast area, the hips, the thighs, to create the feminine form. And it happens in men as estrogen levels increase, you get this increase in breast tissue. And so it changes the male body shape due to the high levels of estrogen and lower levels of testosterone. So, you know, there are these things that we're thinking about. You know, what's in it for me? What do I not want to have? I don't want low energy. I don't want depression. I don't want anxiety. I don't want erectile dysfunction. I want to protect my prostate health. I mean, that's such a big deal. Prostate health is very closely linked to testosterone levels, and also it's also linked to iodine. Now, iodine is a very important trace mineral, again, just like zinc, to protect your reproductive organs. In women, it's incredibly important for protecting against polycystic ovaries and fibrocystic breasts. In men, it's very important to protect against the prostate enlargement and prostate health.
So kelp.
Kelp is a great source of iodine. You never want to take synthetic iodine because it's very easy to get the levels wrong.
Yeah.
In kelp, it's already in the perfect quantity. So a nice organic kelp supplement can just help to reduce any excess estrogen in the body. It can take out, I take kelp, I would say I take mine about 3 to 4 times a week. Although certain times of the month when I know my estrogen is higher, I'll take it daily. So if, as women, if you get breast tenderness or those kind of premenstrual symptoms, it's great to increase kelp or incorporate kelp into your daily supplements to help buffer that excess estrogen. For men, again, if your testosterone is low and you're trying to increase your testosterone and reduce your estrogen, then kelp is another really great way of helping to buffer and protect your reproductive organs.
So you don't want to take too much kelp.
No, I mean, 1 capsule a day
Yeah.
is adequate. If you were taking iodine as a synthetic form or a supplement, then you'd want to be careful because it can affect your thyroid function.
Right.
So it is important, when you have low iodine, your thyroid doesn't function as well. So you can find your metabolism is really sluggish if you have low iodine. And just by improving your iodine levels, it can really help improve hormonal levels as well as thyroid function.
So again, it just comes down to these daily habits of just implementing certain supplements.
Well, we would have had iodine in our soil, but again, our soils are very depleted these days.
Yeah.
And so iodine from seaweed is another really nice way of getting the iodine you need in your diet. So I take seaweed sauerkraut, which I love, Bath Culture House. This is the kelp supplement by Viridian. I don't know where I'm putting this, just there. That's an organic, which again is important to get organic because seaweed is a scavenger. It will suck up all the pollutants in the sea. So making sure you're getting a really high quality organic kelp supplement. And I mentioned zinc earlier. Now I mentioned there's an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen, which is aromatase. Now what zinc does is it inhibits that conversion of testosterone into estrogen. So it helps you maintain some of your testosterone and stops that
conversion.
Yeah, so kelp and zinc are 2 really good supplements to help you maintain good testosterone and lower estrogen. Now the other thing that's really important for estrogen is diet. And I know that you're a huge fan of this group of vegetables, and it's cruciferous vegetables. So cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, Dehydrated kale, you know, guys, don't think about, oh, I have to eat a big plate of vegetables. You can have nice crunchy dehydrated kale. You can have cauliflower rice with curry. You can have a cauliflower rice risotto. There are ways of making these foods really delicious.
Delicious. Mm.
But these cruciferous vegetables help mop up excess estrogen. They're very good for helping to balance your hormones. They're also very low in carbs, so they're not going to spike your blood sugars and cause an estrogen spike like your typical high carb diet. So those foods that are very good for our hormones, again, come down to their impact on estrogen and estrogen levels. So diet wise, the other thing we want to be very cautious of is something that many of us are turning to at the moment to help us get through the stress of the week. You've got it. It's alcohol. Now, alcohol is very estrogen stimulating. It stimulates estrogen production. When you drink alcohol, it increases estrogen. And this is why, you know, when you see the classic beer belly, it's often accompanied by man boobs. It's that stimulation of estrogen that is producing that feminization of the male body. It's driving fat to be deposited in the liver, because ethanol, which is fermented carbohydrates, alcohol, cannot be used as a direct source of energy. So it has to go to the liver. And when alcohol goes to the liver, there's an instant inflammatory reaction that the liver's like, okay, I have to get this out straight away. It stops all detoxificating and it goes immediately to trying to dampen down the effects of alcohol. So you're using up, again, your master antioxidant, glutathione. So you have high reserves of glutathione where your body is most metabolically active. So your liver, your brain, those organs that need lots of antioxidant. So your master antioxidant glutathione starts to deplete as you're using it up to dampen down the effects of alcohol and other inflammatory foods. So ensuring that you don't binge drink, you're trying to minimize the impact of alcohol, having
What about in moderation? Because not everybody drinks 12 pints every night of the week.
It also comes down to what alcohol you're having. So if you're going to have a drink, firstly think, what can I do to support my liver? I want to make sure it has plenty of glutathione. Glutathione can either be can come from food, or your body makes its own. So things like nuts, almonds, and avocados and cruciferous vegetables. These are great sources of glutathione. Making your own glutathione, if you're giving your body the compounds it needs, sulfur, selenium, sulfur from garlic, cruciferous vegetables, selenium from Brazil nuts, beef, mushrooms, then you're going to help your body make its own glutathione. So you're replenishing the stores of this master antioxidant all the time. Other things to support your liver, like milk thistle. You know, if you're going to go out and have a night of drinking, take some milk thistle. Milk thistle, I don't know if you can see that, guys. Milk thistle just helps your liver, it supports your liver's detoxification process. I think it's a great supplement to take to support your liver if you feel like you have any congestion or fatty liver from chronic carb consumption, from drinking, from taking too many medications, for example, the female hormone, statins. A lot of people are on medication these days. So it's supporting your liver in the best way you can. Taking an omega-3 supplement. You know, a lot of people take their omega-3s daily. Take an extra one so that if you are going to drink, that you're reducing the inflammatory impact on the body. The other thing is, what alcohol are you drinking? So it's judging the lower carbs. Don't have a super high sugary mixer. You know, don't have, like, I don't know, Jack Daniels with Coke or orange juice.
But most men drink either beer or JD and Coke.
So it's finding those less sugary, because then you have the sugar from the mixer and the alcohol itself. So if you look at something like red wine, for example, that is really high in antioxidants, and Have your red wine with a meal, so you're not drinking on an empty stomach, and there's some benefits to that red wine. So, and you're having maybe a glass or two as opposed to 14 beers on a Saturday. You might be having 2 or 3 glasses of red wine during the week.
14 beers on
Well,
a Saturday
I don't know. I
after
just
the
made that up.
rugby.
I don't know how much men drink.
Oh, I miss those days. No, I don't.
So it's the type of alcohol you're having and preparing your liver, giving it some support. Now, the other thing you can do to really help your liver is something that, again, you do every day, I do every day, and it's intermittent fasting.
Drink loads of water.
Yeah.
I do 18-6. I'm going to prop that up to 20 and 4. And drink loads of water.
So what you mean there are your hours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fasting is such a powerful way of sucking the fat out of your liver. Yeah, it really is.
Where did that fat go?
I mean, choline is a great nutrient to suck the fat out your liver, and you'll find choline is really rich in egg yolks. Egg yolks are a really high source of choline. They're very rich in vitamin D.
Ooh, I should have tried that this morning in my fat
the
coffee.
egg yolk in coffee. We've been umming and ahhing about adding an egg yolk because Gaz and I are currently doing bone broth evening meal. So we're having our main meal at lunch and then a bone broth.
Basically a bone broth soup.
Yeah, for our. So I was saying,
rich.
to ensure we get more of the really important fats, the cholesterol, the vitamin D, the omega-3s, the B vitamins, all the richness that you get from an egg yolk, maybe blending in an egg yolk into our fat drink or even into the bone broth in the evening, or say evening about 6 o'clock.
I'll try that tomorrow.
Try it tonight in the bone broth.
Yeah?
As long as you have really good quality eggs, guys, grass-fed, organic, free range. Like when I say grass-fed with chickens, they'll just roam and
Free roaming
organic chickens. Now, eggs are a very rich source of choline. So choline helps suck the fat out of your liver. So again, we want to be looking at these really rich sources of healthy fats. And as I said, they are a source of vitamin D, which again is highly important for men, women and children. We've started supplementing the kids' vitamin D this time of year. It is
D3.
There is very strong evidence for the importance vitamin D plays in immune function. And they get 2,000 micrograms a day, 2,000 UG a day. So
What's the recommended dose?
Well, it varies, you know.
I mean, recommended dose for adults? I mean, it's 10,000.
No, that's 10,000 is if you're trying to combat a virus.
So 6,000.
I mean, listen, it varies. What's your age? I think certainly as you get to an age where your estrogen levels are depleting, and for men too, as your testosterone levels are depleting, you want to be protecting bone health and mental health and immune function. I mean, the correlation between low vitamin D and so many conditions, from psoriasis to eczema to acne to alopecia to COVID even. There's been some really interesting research around poor outcomes with COVID and very low levels of vitamin D. So vitamin D is instrumental in our immune function. It plays such an important role that the virus will actually block vitamin D receptors to lower your immune function so it can take over.
Wow.
So,
and now that we're going into winter,
yes,
supplementing vitamin D3 is probably of the high importance.
Yeah, I would say. So my supplement regime changes as winter approaches, and so do the kids. We really focus on that shift over to D3. I've upped zinc. Again, it just reflects. For us, it's all about protection and optimizing function, optimizing immune function, balancing out. And for me, the no contenders are zinc, omega-3, D3. And then all the other things, like bone broth, you get your minerals. I still supplement those minerals, such as magnesium, which is essential for muscles relaxing, for mental relaxation, for sleep. potassium, which is very important for strength. For potassium drives your potassium sodium pumps, which are needed for energy, for drive. So if you're feeling lethargic, if you're just feeling like you're wiped out, it can even create cardiac symptoms like palpitations and racing heart. And upping certain key supplements, certain nutrients, can actually eliminate some symptoms that you think, oh my gosh, what is going on with my body? I had someone in the other day saying that she's super on this, she's being really healthy and keto, but she finds her heart rate keeps increasing. And I said, well, are you getting enough potassium? Because we need about 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day. Now you get about 400 milligrams in a average size avocado. So you can imagine how much potassium food wise you need to get into your diet. And when you're on a low carb diet, you do lose electrolytes quicker than you do if you're not. So it's important to make sure you get plenty of your potassium, magnesium, calcium into your diet through I like food source supplements, so I do 3 every night, potassium, magnesium, citrate, and I find that it just gives me that.
It's a knockout.
It does. Smooth Mag and potassium, magnesium, citrate, 2 excellent supplements for improved sleep and just mineral satiety, getting those minerals into your body and waking up without that feeling of, oh my gosh, is it time to wake up again?
We never had. Last night we took 3 each. I mean, we take 3 each anyway.
Yeah.
We have that same thing every morning, don't we? How did you sleep?
Like a log. So it's about picking those supplements that might, for some of you, it might be like, okay, which key 3 or 4 do I want to start with?
Yeah.
And from there, then you start thinking, okay, what other areas do I want to tweak and improve on and focus on?
Season-wise,
D3 is your key addition at the moment for kids, for adults, for women of every age, for men. So D3, and then
DHA, EPA.
Well, your omega-3s are incredibly important for even aesthetically, guys, dry skin, keeping your skin nourished and hydrated, flexible, soft. You know, you don't want that harsh, cold winter. We stood outside hockey for an hour and a half last night. The wind is blowing, it's cold. And you don't want to be waking up the next morning with, you know, dry skin. Your skin is nourished from the inside out. And it's also obviously hugely important for immune function and the anti-inflammatory benefits, the mental well-being.
So you also have D3.
So zinc, D3, omega-3, kelp if you're looking to balance out your hormones and reduce that.
So as a winter, say a winter bundle.
Yes.
Those would be the 3 main ones: zinc, D3,
and omega-3. Yes, I mean, I would also say you don't want to miss out on your minerals like your potassium, your magnesium. They are very important. You will get them in cruciferous. You know, you get your magnesium and your potassium in your greens, your kale, your spinach.
Yeah.
But it's just not always that easy to get sautéed panfuls of spinach and kale into you. And I eat quite a lot of the cruate dehydrated kale, but I still feel the need to supplement my potassium because I find the more I push my body through exercise, through performance, through work, through you know, mental function, learning, teaching.
Yeah, there's a lot of
you're using up your reserves, you're using up your resources, and I don't want just enough to get by. I want enough to thrive and feel great every day. There's nothing that feels better than feeling great every day.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of demand on you, don't you, throughout the day?
So just going back to hormones for a moment with men, we spoke about the liver and how important it is to not have a congested liver. So that comes down again to the choice of diet, intermittent fasting, alcohol, lots of sugars like fructose, ethanol, glucose. The other thing that has an impact on men's testosterone and liver is medication. Now, statins are a very common drug for men to be put on.
What age do men go on statins?
Generally, they're recommended at about the age of 60.
To go on what, as soon as they turn 60?
Very often, yeah.
Really? today is my 60th birthday. Bang, right, I suggest you go on statins. Okay.
So we want to be mindful of the impact statins has on the body because it depletes your cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is needed for the body to make testosterone. And so it also depletes you of coenzyme Q10, which is needed for healthy mitochondrial function. And this is why one of the side effects of statins are achy, tender muscles, muscle ache.
So it depletes you of
coenzyme Q10.
Wow.
So again, that's a very important nutrient. You can get it in heart organ meat,
Yeah.
which is why I love to supplement liver and heart. So again, it depends on your age, your medication, what you're taking. But if you want healthy functioning mitochondria are your batteries. Mitochondria density varies from cell to cell, depending on if it's muscle, heart, eyes, brain. But the ideal is to boost our mitochondria. The more mitochondria you have in a cell, the more energy you're going to produce, the more effective your cells are. The more mitochondrial dysfunction you have, the less energy you can produce, and the more your body will demand, eat more, give me more sugar, I need more energy. And you're all the while these dysfunctional mitochondria producing inflammatory markers. So when you intermittently fast and you go through autophagy, that means your body's cleaning up, it's doing its housework.
While you're asleep.
Yes, you also go through something
Which
called...
is why sleeping is important.
Very, very important, especially for hormones. You also go through something called mitophagy, which is killing off dysfunctional mitochondria. When you become fat adapted, your body increases the density of mitochondria in your body because it's starting to become more energy efficient. You're becoming more metabolically flexible. And that's the end game for us. We want to have that amazing metabolic flexibility where we can use the fat from our plate, from our body. We can mop up any glucose we have. It's not about what the stick says. Oh, I'm in ketosis. It's what our physiology is telling us. It's what the food that we're eating is telling our DNA. It's the messages we're communicating on a microscopic level, second by second within our body. So
that's how important it is to note exactly what you're putting in your mouth. Everything. Supplements. It's how important it is to note the supplements you're putting in as well.
And to feel, to note what it might not give you that instant feeling.
Well, a lot of it doesn't give you that instant gratification that a chocolate bar would give you.
Or even a paracetamol.
Yeah.
You have pain, you take a paracetamol, it's gone.
Yeah.
These things like mushrooms, for example, mushrooms, cordyceps are very good for erectile dysfunction and fertility, but you might not immediately notice, your erectile dysfunction's improving. But if you have, diabetes is a direct, erectile dysfunction is directly correlated with diabetes because of the high blood sugars. They damage the vascular tissue, and therefore you don't get the
blood circulation.
The circulation, exactly. So there are things you can do to improve blood circulation. You can improve the damage, reduce the high blood sugars, improve insulin resistance, increase B1, which is thiamine, which becomes very depleted in diabetics and pre-diabetics, individuals with insulin resistance. Then you can start to look at increasing your things like nitric oxide from beet kvass, which dilates the blood vessels, and it's the compound that they use for angina medication because it relaxes the blood vessels. It's the same medication they use for erectile dysfunction medication.
Wow.
So having natural compounds like nitric oxide that your body makes from nitrates from beet kvass, improving your blood sugars, having things like cordyceps in your diet to naturally increase testosterone and improve libido and sex drive and erectile dysfunction are these ways of naturally balancing out the body so that it does what it wants to do. The blood sugars are improved, your vascular tissue is protected.
So like a car, it's really, if you want your car to perform at its best, you really want to just continually keep servicing your car, keep putting new tires on it, just the same thing with your body, right? Just keep keep trying to improve and maintain your body
Get
in the best way.
curious. Yeah, get really curious about your body, and don't see it as just something that's always going to be there. You know,
I think a lot of people, and this is true of myself, I was the same. When it came to health, I always saw health, and it was my very first speed bump, I guess. I always saw health as being expensive. And so that stopped me from pursuing health in the way that we should pursue it. I would always take shortcuts, and I would always convince myself of this is healthy. And I know a lot of people do that because they put a monetary value on what it takes to get the good health. And you never really think about health in that same way, you
as
know,
an investment.
as an investment. You only see it as something that's so important to you when you're lying in a hospital bed or even in a sick bed in your own home, wherever, you know. You only ever see it as being important when you've been knocked off your bike. Then you start to look at your body as being the you know, the most important thing of in your life. Until that happens, you know, I think people find it
Yeah.
very difficult to switch, you know, to switch on that part of their brain to say, listen, I'm going to invest in my body. I'm going to make those investments. It's a long-term investment. It's a very difficult thing to do, but a long-term investment, like a car. If you're going to, if you were only allowed to have one car in your life, you would make
For the
damn
rest of your
sure
life.
for the rest of your
Yeah.
life, you would make damn sure that you're going to maintain it. You get no other car. Once you ruin this car, that's it, game over. You would make sure that you were maintaining it, you know, in every way, to make sure that this car is in perfect tip-top condition, even painting it, cleaning it, you know.
I think sometimes because we don't necessarily correlate what we put in with how we're feeling.
No.
Or
Well, we
what-
do, because that's why people have alcohol
But that
or
instant
chocolate.
gratification.
Instant gratification.
But when you're putting something like, I don't know,
Supplements.
mushroom powder or D3,
Yeah.
some people do correlate because they see their skin improving.
Yes.
Or they see
Collagen's another one.
But again, it takes a month for
It
your
takes-
skin to turn
it
over.
takes a long-
So you don't
yeah.
wake up the next morning and go, damn, my
Wow.
skin looks good. But in a month's time, you start to notice, okay, yeah. And then 3 months
the
later,
nails.
and then a year later, you know, these things, they take time. But it's almost like at one point it all clicks. And then you think, do you know what? I definitely notice my nails are stronger, or my hair feels thicker, or my skin, you know, you start to see the physical outside. Because you can't see what's going on the inside, you don't look into your gut health and go, damn, my gut health's looking good today.
I think a lot of people are so hardwired in the way they, you know, when you watch TV, you'll always see some kind of lose weight advert.
Yeah.
And the lose weight advert makes you think that it'll take me 6 to 8 weeks. And a lot of them will say this. Come on our program, it'll take you 6 to 8 weeks, you'll lose this, you'll get a six-pack in 4 weeks. So you're almost becoming hardwired to think, well, that's all it takes. Short term. It only takes a little bit of time, and when I'm ready, do you know what? There's a wedding on in 3 months. I think I'll go on a diet in about 3 weeks. You know, thinking that it all happens so quickly. Well, shock horror. Maybe if you went on a cabbage diet,
I think a lot of
it might
our
happen.
followers who watch this really understand the concept of longevity and long-term health.
I get that, but a lot of other people, there's so many people out there who don't understand what it takes, you know, it's longevity.
I think it helps at the moment with the climate we're living in, where people experience sometimes a shock of ill health, and then you really start to value, I never want to live like this, where you're just exhausted and you're feverish, or you can't get out of bed, or whatever it might be. I've been fortunate enough to work in hospital settings where I've seen firsthand the impact of poor choices. And it, from a very young age, made me think, I value and respect my body so much that I never want to put myself in that position where I think, I wish I had. I wish I'd made better choices.
I think a lot of people, everybody's done something, you know, broken a bone, You know, you've cut your finger really badly. You've done something where your whole focus is now on that massive big slice in your
Or
thumb.
even back pain. You know how
Back pain,
debilitating
sore
back pain is?
knee. I
And
mean,
you're
there's
like, oh, will
something.
this ever go? Am I going to live like this
Yeah.
forever? And
Then,
then it
but
goes
right
and you
there,
forget about it.
right there, you value your body, don't you?
Yeah.
Until it goes away.
And then
Right,
you
I'm
forget about it.
back to where I was before.
Yeah.
So I think remembering that focus you had on what I'd do anything, because you do say this to yourself, oh, I'd do anything just to get rid of this cut thumb or
Yeah.
bad backache.
Or get my eyesight back. You know,
Yeah.
when your eyesight
Starts
starts
to
to
fade.
go, or
Yeah.
your hearing starts to go,
Yeah.
or your sexuality starts to go, you know, you lose that sex drive, that part of you that makes you masculine or makes you feel, you know, it's part of,
Gives you that grrr.
well, absolutely, because men lose that part of them that makes them masculine and feel, and I'm not saying that it's the be all or end all, but for some men, when that part of your being starts to go,
Your
erectile
manhood.
dysfunction, or when you get low testosterone, you lose drive, you become low, you become demotivated, you become depressed.
Yeah.
So it's about rebalancing, restoring, and helping men to understand that it is about reducing estrogen and increasing testosterone in that synergy. And the other way you can increase testosterone is through exercise, HIIT exercise particularly. That's high impact and high intensity impact. So it's things like resistant weight. Now, don't go out and start doing lots of high weights. This is something that you build up to. But stimulating growth hormone and doing some short high intensity exercise can be really helpful. But before you even get to that, you need that motivation and drive, which often comes from changing your diet and lifestyle, and it all happens gradually and slowly. So, you know, step by step. What would be the 3 or 4 top things you would say for someone to take home today if they haven't done any of this before? What would you say, food wise, lifestyle wise, that you would recommend? If they're currently having a standard diet and living,
Yeah, sure. It's a difficult one because you have to want to change, and that comes from only from you, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says. You have to really want to change.
a desire to change. So your why, I guess, figuring out your why.
Yeah, figuring out your why. So your why could be anything from I'm overweight and I've always known I've had a bad diet and I need to do something, and I want to grow old with my kids. I mean, there's so many whys. Because there's a lot of people, a lot of men out there who I believe when people like us come along, a lot of people do feel challenged, and they feel like their blueprint has been challenged first of all, so they don't want to change because people know who they are in the state they're in. And people are sure of that, aren't they? They're so sure about themselves in the way they are now, and so making a change can be quite challenging because it's scary. Someone else is telling you that it's not right. Deep down inside, you know it's not right, but you know, you're not willing to make that step. So it's very hard for me to answer that question. I think the answer would be. You know, it's hard to just go straight to nutrition and just say don't eat gluten and don't eat sugar. I mean, I do say that,
but figuring out your why first.
But figuring out why is so getting educated.
I think that's kind of finding out who, because a lot of people lose who they were at 20, 25, 30, and it's finding out what does it actually mean to you. What is the purpose? Where's your pain? Are you loving life? Are you getting the most out of? Are you living your best life?
Or are you disappointed? If you are disappointed, use that as your motivation.
Yeah, use that to
why am I
drive
disappointed? It could be anything.
Because this impacts relationships with yourself, with your wife, your partner, your children, your work colleagues.
Yeah.
The number of people we've seen transform their relationships with the people around them, with themselves, with life, and it doesn't matter how many things you buy, cars, clothes, you know, gadgets, toys, it will not
short-lived.
replace the feeling of the experience you get from life from living in the best health you can. So
Yeah.
okay guys, we are going to have to wrap up there. So find your why, get curious and enjoy the journey of learning about yourself. Certainly start looking at your carb intake, your sugars, your alcohol, and you know, get a good supplement regime going for the winter, and
look at living a quality of life, because really that's what it's about. You don't want longevity without the quality. You want first and foremost quality. So because you're exuding quality to everything you do then, so it's really quality of life, isn't it?
Longevity with quality of life.
Yeah.
Climbing mountains at 100,
Yeah.
surfing at 110.
Bring that on.
Guys, have a wonderful day. We will see you for live keto cookery, which is pastry week, on Friday. And yeah, have a good one.
Have a great day. Make good choices. And we'll see you next week.
Bye guys.